Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. We get together most weekday mornings with our distribution partners and now our clients to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. We did not have training yesterday and will not have training tomorrow because of some travel, some workshops that we're doing. But we have the training, of course, today, and then we'll be back again on Friday. Today is a bit of a follow-up. We had announced recently that the SBA had relaxed their lending requirement standards, and that became effective as of August 1st, 2023. So we had made mention to that in a prior training. We're going to peel back another layer today and actually talk about the fact that SBA loans are now available with literally next day funding. So no, this isn't a marketing pitch or a twist or an untruth. It's actual. Now we're going to get down to the where the rubber hits the road, why this is possible in just a second. But I need you to understand this is not too good to be true. SBA financing has always offered appealing terms to small business owners, but the program has been stigmatized by lengthy closing timeframes and a lot of paperwork. Things have changed. Again, as of August 1st, things have changed. Now, does that mean that all SBA loans are going to fund next day? No. And in fact, as we talked about in the prior trainings, it's SBA loans that are at 500,000 or below are now expedited. So SBA loans can go up into the millions of dollars. However, anything above 500,000 was not affected by the change that started August 1st, which allowed for expediting. So we're able to help facilitate SBA financing. You know, we're not an SBA lender, right? You know, we don't lend money. We're not a lender. What you and I do as technical advisors is we legally and ethically help clients put together their packages and become credible enough on paper, legally and ethically qualified on paper to be approved for funding. And that's what's really needed, right? The world doesn't need another lender, SBA or otherwise. That there's plenty of money, plenty of lenders. That's not the problem. The problem is most small business owners are not qualified. That's what you and I do. We help them become qualified for funding. So again, this sounds radical, and I guess it is radical, but it's true. Yes, we can get SBA loans next day. So what that means, just to drill into that even deeper, that means we could apply today and get funded tomorrow. Now, theoretically, it could happen the same day, but let's stay more conservative than that. Funding certainly can be within hours, though. So how is this possible? Well, I didn't put on here, I probably should have. Remember, as of August 1st, the SBA has relaxed their requirements for loans 500,000 and below. One of the important elements of that change, and I think we discussed that on the prior training, but I'll mention it now, is that the SBA is allowing the lenders, the banks, the credit unions, the other financing institutions that are qualified to facilitate SBA loans, that they're allowing those lenders, because remember, the SBA is the guarantor, not the lender. The SBA is now allowing the lenders to use their own underwriting for those smaller loans, 500,000 and below. So that allows to bypass the bureaucracy that have historically taken much longer for SBA loans. Hopefully that makes sense. Because we've seen it in the past. We've had clients that got approved for an SBA loan. Got approved through the internal bank standards, but then didn't meet some crazy nuance that the SBA threw out there of some wild requirement that no one knew about. So now, as long as we're 500,000 or below, we can get underwriting just at the bank level, not at the bank level plus the SBA. Hopefully that makes sense. So when we're talking about next day SBA loans, simple application makes it possible. They're not requiring bank statements or tax returns. And of course, this is through some preferred lender relationships that we have. So this is great. Now, should you go out as a distribution partner and tell people, we can get you an SBA loan tomorrow? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I would promote the credit and funding program for what it is and what it does. Let them know that we have access to many different types of funding sources. And an example of that would be that we do work with funding partners that will, in fact, fund SBA loans next day. But we need to get that client enrolled in credit and funding, gather information, and figure out where they should go for funding, because different clients have different mitigating circumstances that impacts where we should go for their funding. So do not promise a specific funding type, because you're not the underwriter. You don't have authority to approve nor decline anyone for a specific type of funding. So we don't want to misrepresent. But we can certainly say you can enroll in the credit and funding program. We guarantee you a minimum of $100,000. We'll find out what type of funding you best qualify for once you've enrolled and we've onboarded you. So that's accurate, that's honest, that's transparent. All right, so let's go back to the next day SBA loans. They offer some really nice rates and terms. And because often you'll be asked that, well, what's the payments going to be? Well, to no surprise, the amount of your loan repayment is going to be a variable of a couple key functions, right? What is the amount you're borrowing? What's the repayment term? And what's the interest rate, obviously. But let's break it down. So through the next day SBA loans, we have low interest rates, which is good. That's one of those variables that impacts payments. It is a normal monthly loan repayment. It's not weekly or daily. It's not a merchant cash advance. Because a lot of times people will hear this and they'll think, oh, next day funding, that must be a merchant cash advance. No, in fact, this type of funding is a great pivot. You can find small business owners that are either looking at merchant cash advances or on them and switch them out of a merchant cash advance and get them onto an SBA loan. Because here we have much preferable terms and it's the same turnaround, right? Why do many small business owners go to get an MCA? Because it's quick and it's relatively easy. Now you and I have an arrow in our quiver that's just as fast and just as easy. But let's get back to the rates and terms. So low interest rates, monthly payments. In most cases, it's going to be a 10-year repayment term, 120 months. Because we said, well, what impacts payments? Well, how frequently they're paid, the interest rate, the term, and then, of course, the amount of the loan. Certainly no prepayment penalty and no SBA guarantee fee. Okay, we good so far? So let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the page. It is a simple application process. So let's go through what that process is. We need to get the client enrolled in the credit and funding program first. That allows us to assist them. That allows you to get paid. If the client doesn't enroll, now I have our website here. Most of you are branches. So in fact, you'll have them sign on your contract, of course. And then once they sign with you for credit and funding on your contract, then of course, we'll work with you to get them onboarded. So Carlton referred in 3 new clients yesterday, and he's actually not on the training this morning live, but we talked at 7 a.m. Central. So yesterday he referred in 3 new clients and following this process. And so this morning we had a scheduled call to go through each of those clients. Where are we at? Are they ready right now for funding, or do we need to work on their file? Because with the credit and funding program, they're getting credit sweep for free. They're getting credit boost for free. We're transferring assets $10,000 of real assets to help them have collateral. So there's lots of perks. So if you'll get clients enrolled into your credit and funding as a branch, then we'll work with you to get them onboarded, and then we'll help them apply for the funding. Now with the branch, we're behind the scenes, we're kind of invisible. So for example, again, with Carlton this morning, one of those three, well, no, I'm sorry, two of the three clients are actually ready to go to funding today already within 24 hours. And so those two, we actually prepped Carlton, gave him all the information, and he'll actually walk those clients through that application process. Why? Because in the branch model, we don't talk to the clients. We're behind the scenes. You're talking to the clients. And in terms of the next day SBA funding, which we're talking about next day funding. So the process is pretty simple, right? So again, this isn't a separate program. You're bringing people in through your branch and the credit and funding. We onboard them, we match them up to the right type of funding. You agree to that. If you agree to that, then we'll give you the instructions to share with the client. Make sense? So periodically we get asked about funding success stories. And I gave you the disclaimer earlier, we don't fund anyone, right? We are not a lender. We have never funded anyone, but we work with lending partners that do funding, right? Because who does funding? Banks do funding, credit unions do funding, alternative lenders do funding, the SBA guarantees funding. But just to be clear, we've never funded anyone, right? Never, because we're not a lender. We're a technical advisor. But nonetheless, people ask for success stories. So here we have some. $975,000 anti-aging, kind of like a wellness center startup. It's a brand new business. Got the startup financing, 10-year repayment term. Sometimes people don't need startup money. Sometimes they need equipment financing. Here is a little over $100,000 for an excavator, funded in 6 days, no money down. Now, when you get into equipment, often it's going to be financed over the expected life of the equipment, which in the case of the excavator was 6 years. So the working capital, startup loan, 10 years, here, 6 years. $250,000 line of credit for a software company, again, 10-year term. There's been a lot of growth over the past few years in the cannabis industry. And yes, absolutely, there's funding available. This was about a $3.5 million deal. The largest recent funding to share with you is almost 20 million, not quite. This is constructing, so building from the ground up an apartment complex. So we work with different funding partners, banks, credit unions, alternative lenders. We get clients qualified legally and ethically on paper, and then match them up to the right funding source. And we're seeing incredible success, over 100 million funded per month in 2023. If we look back at 2022, it ended up right at 1.4 billion, which sounds like a big number, but if you take 100 million a month and multiply that times 12, it's not too far off of that, with 7,800 closings last year. So again, if you are one of our branches, awesome. You're in the right place, right time. We're here to support you, to assist you. Our top branch is doing about, she's enrolling about 10 clients a day into credit and funding. Now, we would love to work with all of you to enroll at least one. Many of you are doing that. If you're not finding your groove, if you're not having success, let us know. We give away free leads. We have those on a round robin basis. Many of you have received multiple new leads in the past 24 hours. We need more people to work the leads that are coming in. So we just need to make sure that you're set up and ready to go, and we can add you to that round robin basis. We're doing a ton of deals. We're having a lot of success, and we're excited about the next day SBA loan offering. That is, again, not a different program. It's a type of funding, that clients can access through credit and funding. So who has questions, comments, concerns on next day SBA loans? We talked a little bit about rates and terms because some of you are analytical and want to know more about that. But please don't quote clients what type of funding they're going to get. You're not the underwriter. You don't determine approval or declination. Don't quote what their specific interest rate's going to be. So could they qualify for low interest rates with monthly payments, 10-year repayment terms? Of course, but you can't speak on behalf of Wells Fargo or Bank of America or JP Morgan Chase. Just understand, describe the program and the process that we offer and how there is a $100,000 guarantee. You can give them examples. You can give them examples of recent fundings, but does that mean that they'll get 19 million to start their own apartment complex? Maybe, but you can't promise that, right? So that's why we tend to minimize funding examples and success stories, because we don't want to mislead clients and say, hey, Joey got 19 million. I'm sure you will too. Well, Joey might have had different circumstances than Susie, right? So you can make reference to success stories and funding programs, but don't mislead clients to tell them, hey, we can get you 19 million too, because that may be the case, that may not be the case based upon the client's mitigating circumstances. So who has questions, comments, concerns? And again, our contact information hasn't changed. You can call us, you can text us, you can email us. For those of you that are branches, we should be having at least weekly scheduled calls to go through client status. Where is every client at? Are they happy? Are they satisfied? Are we on track? Are there questions? If things do slip through the cracks, we should talk frequently enough that it doesn't go on too long. Anyone have questions, comments, concerns on next day SBA loans, on the simple process, on examples of recent fundings, on how to reach out to us? Okay, so again, if you're not a branch, you're welcome to become a branch. And actually on guaranteedfunding.org, if you go to the careers page, there's a spot there where you can let us know that you'd like to be a branch. We can get you set up and open for business in less than 24 hours. It's awesome. If you are a current branch, you should be open for business. You should be enrolling at least one client a day. If you're not, let us know what's broken, what help you need, because there's so many people out there that need and want and desire funding to start or grow a business. If somehow you're not successful in helping any of them pretty much on a daily basis, we need to problem solve, because there's something broken. Either you don't have the leads or you're not converting them. We need to discuss where the breakdown is. What can I do to assist any of you today? Anything else? All right, well, great talking to you. We won't be here Thursday, tomorrow because of travel, but we'll be back on Friday morning. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.